Sheriff Chad Bianco in California, Riverside County Sheriff, who's running for governor in the state to try and save it from its inevitable demise if they keep going down the direction that they're going. Sheriff, now you've been in law enforcement. I'm not entirely sure your specific background of how long, but obviously a while. And considering you've got the top job in your area, I think you're probably pretty intimately aware with California and how the legal system works here. California is often viewed statewide as a very challenging place for law enforcement, or a difficult environment. Now, some of those criticisms can be fair, right? Because we were also, willing to hold everyone accountable for what they do. But at the same time, there's a lot that's politically motivated, especially when it's initiated from outside of the state. How would you, at the state level, shift the conversation / public perspective of law enforcement, especially considering that crime consistently ranks at California's top priorities when it comes to the politics in their locales and at the state level? How can we instill greater trust in the law enforcement community, both on the political end, but also in their communities?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's going to be definitely a heavy lift once I get there. But the reality is we have to realize again that we've been misled and lied to by our government, and it's for a purpose. There has been a purpose of lying about law enforcement and demonizing law enforcement for political gain and for future political aspirations and agenda-driven items. But California, in the last, particularly since 2012, has been on a downslide in public safety based on an agenda and what I call an absolute love affair with criminals from the far left. And every law that they have passed, every law that they have changed, that has already been on the books, that have been changed, has done nothing except protect criminals. It's hampered law enforcement's ability to keep residents safe. That's part of the reason why I'm even making this run, and why I've been such a loud voice in Sacramento, is my ability to keep residents in Riverside County safe is only hampered not based on what I want to do or what my county wants. It is being stopped by politicians in Sacramento and the laws that they are passing and the laws that they refuse to pass. And this is love affair, this obsession that they have with making criminals somehow victims and relieving them of responsibility for their criminal acts absolutely must change. And my intention once I get there is to really, the public is becoming keenly aware that this is true and this is what's happening in our state. But it will be my job to make sure that everyone is aware and everyone is aware who's responsible. And then when the public holds our elected officials accountable, that's when things will change in Sacramento. When these elected officials, out of fear of not being elected again, are going to either have to change what they're doing, change their agenda, or they'll just be replaced.
I kind of want to tug on something that kind of deviating a little bit. I heard rumors that there's been a change over the course of the leadership in the governor's office on meeting with sheriffs and DAs in local counties. Is that true? And if so, can you kind of elaborate on that?
No, it's not true. So
Okay.
the district attorneys and the sheriffs, the law enforcement leaders in our state are truly the law enforcement experts. We know what's going on the ground. We know what these laws, what the unintended consequences of these laws may be. And there is never a time when we are consulted about these laws. We are purposely excluded from those conversations. And while we try and ask for meetings with the governor's office or some of the assembly members or the senators, their staff who is coming up with these ridiculous laws at sometimes, we're just denied. It's strange that the sheriff, as an elected official, the highest elected official in each county, when I go to Sacramento and request a meeting with an assembly member who is a small portion of a city or a small portion of an electorate, they refuse to meet with us, and I meet with their staffers. I mean, not only is it disrespectful, it just shows that they have no intention of having to answer tough questions. But the governor still refuses to meet with us. He will not discuss anything with us about policy or about the state of public safety in California. It's so what you heard is more misinformation and lies coming from his office because he's trying to remake his the opinion that the country has of him so he can make a presidential bid. But he's got way too much to change, and we know who he is, so it's not going to work. But it's strange that they're trying to spread that information when it's easily proven that it's not true.
Interesting. Yeah, that was something I've been curious about. Like, hey, are we actually, or sheriff's actually getting barred from the governor's office? So,
We
good to get that record cleared. So okay, so this is more of a national issue, but I think it's probably very prevalent in the state of California. There's a lot been made about the waste in government spending at the federal level, right? This is a big thing. Elon Musk, Doge, President Trump, all of that sort of stuff. If there is one place that I would probably point to around the country that maybe has some similar waste problems, it would be the state of California. And according to this same Public Policy Institute of California survey back in 2024, so a couple months ago, said that 71% of adults and 68% of likely voters say the state government is run by a few big interests and not actually run for the people. On top of that, about half of voters say that the state government wastes taxpayer money. Is that a thing to focus on at the state level? Is it something that you think that voters actually will care about? Not trying to tie it to the federal election because everything gets tied to the federal stuff nowadays, but just statewide, is there that kind of groundswell to kind of clean up the the money being thrown at the bullet train among all of these other things that don't work and just kind of waste money and enhance the pockets of the people that are benefiting from it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people have reached a point where they're fed up. And our President Trump and Elon Musk are doing a great job for every state in the country to show the amount of waste that's going on with government spending. And again, I think one of the things I have to offer to this election process for 2026 is honesty. There is not going to be another person that their entire livelihood relies on honesty. Everything I tell you, I can't mislead you. I can't lie to you, or I disqualify myself from my current job. But we have to start being honest with each other, and we have to start being honest with the public, and just admit that the higher you go up in government, the more government waste in government spending. So the local governments there's not as much money, so there can't be as much waste. The county government, there's a little bit more money, so there's more waste. I've seen that in my current dealings with the county, and we have made in the last 6 years, we've made some drastic changes in the way our county operates, and we've saved tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in just changing the way government operates. So knowing this massive amount of waste at the federal level and the amount of waste that still goes on at the county level, the state is somewhere in between. And since the state is the fifth largest economy in the world with the amount of money coming through that we generate, the amount of waste is staggering. And now we're seeing that hundreds of billions of dollars have just disappeared, that we do not know where they are. So to the normal person, if we're just wasting $50 billion a year, if I go in there and find that waste and stop that waste, I can now eliminate every single bit of your state income tax. And now you no longer have to pay state income tax because I just stopped the waste that we were just blowing money and it was disappearing and we didn't even know where it went. So how simple would that be to now completely eliminate all of your income tax, the highest income tax in the country, that we could eliminate it just by stopping one small section of the waste?
If you're asking my opinion, that sounds pretty good. I would happily pay less state income tax. I appreciate your offer. The last thing in the last couple of minutes I've got here, the highest priorities for California voters have been the economy, housing prices, and homelessness. I think all of those kind of tie together. So I guess I want to ask a specific question, just to let you kind of take us what is kind of your vision of how to kind of alleviate the Californian concern about the economy, housing, and homelessness, kind of broadly as it coalesces together?
Yeah, well, I'll separate it, and I must
Okay.
separate it because of the homeless issue. The homeless issue is a drug-induced psychosis issue that we have. We
Yep.
have to start addressing this drug addiction that all of these people, 90 to 95% of the people that are on the street of these pictures that you're seeing, are addicted to drugs, which is keeping them from living in the homes that they already had with their family members, from holding down the jobs that they had before they lost it because of their drug addiction. So once we address that and we actually provide them help, it's I don't want to put them in jail. I want to get them the help to get rid of their drug addiction so we can make them productive members of society. That's the homeless issue. Now to add more homes, to address our economy and to address the amount of regulation. These are all government imposed. The highest housing market in the country is because we have the highest amount of regulations on our builders, the highest amount of regulations on obtaining a permit or paying for a permit just to get that building approved or your business approved. So the cost of living in California, the cost of goods and services, and the cost of a home, the cost of gas, all of those things are regulated by government agencies, and the regulation causes excessive fees. The there's We're the only state that has them, so you can't say that we're smarter than any other state. You can't say that these other states aren't doing the right thing. They're actually doing the right thing for their residents. We have just been taken advantage of by an extremely greedy and wasteful government, in that we love California so much, we're willing to pay, more for everything, but
Hmm.
we've gotten to a point where now we're just leaving. We can't afford to pay it anymore. And so everyone is leaving. Our businesses, our jobs, our workers are actually leaving the state to go to places that don't have these high regulations. So the ability of the governor to go in and immediately take away those regulations is available. Newsom could do it any second. He chooses not
Hmm.
to. I, as the governor, will immediately remove those regulations, and then we will go back to the legislature to make sure we change the laws that allowed those regulations to be put in place, so someone else can't come back later and screw us over again by adding those fees and those regulation costs that drive up the cost of living in California. People think it's this amazing thing, and you need to be this genius to be able to solve this problem. The reality is you just have to care. You have
Hmm.
to actually care about Californians more than you care about some other special interest group, whether it be a big interest group or a small interest group. That mostly it's minority interest groups that control our state at the expense of all of Californians. So what I'm going there for is truly to sacrifice my retirement, sacrifice my great job that I have here, and
Hmm.
I want to make Californians' lives better. Not special interests, not big business, not small business, not any particular industry or special interest. It's Californians. We have to make our life better by making our government work for us instead of against us.
Yeah. Interesting battle that you've chosen, but God bless you for doing it.